Welcome back in. With the threat of severe storms approaching this weekend, well, some of you might be feeling some anxiety about that.
Yeah, so we're continuing the conversation we were having with Lauren Linehan, having it now with Dr. Josh Klapow and Tony Kurre here in studio. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You have talked about this before. You've had weather anxiety,
I
right?
haven't been on the radio for 40-something years. Yeah. This is kind of when you guys shine, right? And we were talking about this before we came on, you know, for a long period of time until television, when we only had the 3 networks.
I'm just going to fix your mic. You just keep talking.
When we only had the one thing, is that radio was the only place to go. I mean, that's the only place you go, because if your TV wasn't working, you had to have a radio. Obviously, it's changed a lot over the years. So that was something that, you know, was really beneficial for us. So we'd ramp up a little bit, but I think you're talking to Josh coming in here. I think the talking of this so much before it actually happens is the part that makes my anxiety.
Well, that's what I was about to say. There was a time we were talking about earlier that we didn't talk about the anxiety of it. We just reported it.
Yeah.
But now it's an effort to kind of alleviate that anxiety, but like it could
Kids
create
are asking me on Tuesday if they're going to have school on Friday.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
But you do, I mean, again, so you have to make a choice. And we used to, well, you're right, we used to make the choice. We used to actually think, if you say anything, you know, it'll spark people's anxiety. Well, yes, but if you don't say anything, think about it this way, if you don't say anything, the anxiety's still there. I mean, people see what's happening. And one of the things that's really important, I mean, information is really important to help calm people down. That being said, people do get anxious when they hear the information.
Sure.
A lot of it has to do how the message is delivered. This is what he and I were talking about before we came on. Your voices, the meteorologist's voices, his voices. It's not just what you say, but how you say it has a huge impact.
Sure.
And you know, and sometimes you can't say, particularly in situations like this, you don't say nothing's going to happen.
Sure.
You'll be fine.
it really gives you.
We've had incidents where you know, they thought there was the threat has lowered, but then something happened out of that, and so we don't want people to be caught off guard. That's why you have to take it seriously.
Sometimes we don't know until we know, and
true.
that's the problem.
That's Mother Nature.
But just trying to make people pay attention is really what our meteorologists.
I love the idea that it humanizes the news people. I mean, we actually get to see a side of you guys that we normally don't get to see, and because we're talking about life or death, right? And when I see Lauren or when I see Megan or whatever talk about, hey, listen, we're not here to scare you. We're here to talk about these weather opportunities, these possibilities that could really affect your family, and we know that Fox 6 is the best at doing that. So
we're not paying you to say that, but we appreciate it.
No, that's true.
And I think too, you know, some people say, well, I've never had a tornado hit my house, so I'm not really concerned. If you saw the video of that tornado that hit Tuscaloosa that day, I mean, that could traumatize you.
It can traumatize you, and one of the things that we see a lot in the mental health community is that people who have anxiety conditions or depression, independent of how it came about, right? Independent of weather, independent of that, PTSD that maybe have nothing to do with it. Situations like this make those symptoms worse. So for a lot of people, they're, you know, I don't have a problem with weather, and then they notice their anxiety is going up. And so it is important to A, recognize that this may happen, that your anxiety may go up. B, even if you weren't in the tornado, it may go up. And then as Lauren was saying, the idea is, okay, I'm feeling anxious. There's nothing I can do about that, but what can I do to not let that anxiety get the best of me? So whether it's things that you've learned from your mental health professional, whether it's taking action to have your safety kit in place, it's those kinds of things.
You know, after the April 8th tornado, the April 27th tornadoes, we all, and I did a number of interviews with parents, and so as time went on and the next just thunderstorm would come, the kids were affected so much. So dealing with kids who might have this is a total different thing, I would assume.
It is. I mean, it is, particularly young kids. Young kids really, the idea of giving them lots of information, you don't need to. When they're, you know, under about age 10, you can explain what's happening, but the most important thing kids want to hear is what you're going to do to help keep them safe.
Keep me safe.
They want to know that nothing's going to happen. You can't do that, but reassurance that I got you is probably the most powerful thing that you can do. To be honest with you, particularly for all of us, you all saying, the meteorology team saying, we got you, we're gonna help you through this. It seems like nothing, but that's what people need psychologically to just be able to sort of take that breath and move forward.
You know, it's funny when we've had storms, and I've told my husband this, that when we have storms and he's home, we all feel better when he's there, because he watches things and makes sure we're going to be okay. It's simple
Right.
stuff like that.
Right, and he's not necessarily.
No, he has no control. But he makes me feel better.
There you go. There you
Well,
go.
he could jump into action, be the superhero. But no,
you know what I mean? That's what I mean by calming kids down.
I think the digital signals that now in place are great.
Oh, yeah.
But you mentioned radio back when we were analog. People could still listen to us on 87.7 FM. So
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
used to
we
listen
lost
all the
that
time.
with the digital age. But
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we took a lot
All
of pride
right.
in that.
Well, find your source. Yeah, it'll be on the First Alert Weather app. You can,
Yep.
if we hope nobody loses power, but if you did,
That's the
you
way
could
to keep
still
up.
get information that way. All right, Megan's following it hour by hour, and she'll have the latest on that when we come back.
Hey, Megan.